please don't use ChatGPT to solve your health issues. When ChatGPT gives you an answer, it's very often wrong. I will look at it and go, well, that's not right, and this is not right. And it will say to me, oh, yeah, you're right. Thanks for spotting that. If you're into big pharma, my view is this. It is not there to cure anything. The business is about making money and keeping people sick. If you come up and say, I've got a cure for cancer, you will be assassinated within a year.
How do you suggest people are advocating when they're going into their GP, their doctor, their nurse practitioner?
If you've got children or loved ones around you, at the end of your life, is your life going to be an example to others or a warning to them? Prevention is the only way that you can make significant improvements on what's going on now. And then if you're looking at longevity, that's a totally different discussion.
If you could go back and speak to your teenage self, little Paul, and give him one piece of advice that would help him sort of step forward into wellness, into health optimization, what would that be?
Don't take shortcuts.
This is Willpower.
Hello, hello, hello. We are all here together at the Willpower Podcast, and I'm with one of my favorite people on the planet, a man who has seen me through ups and downs and all arounds, Mr. Paul Burgess. Thanks for being on the show today.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I'm glad to know that I'm one of your favorite people. You must only know three of us.
Always with the jokes, always with the jokes. I am happy to have you here today because I think it's important for listeners to begin their journey in many of different ways. And then also we get to a place with health optimization that we're sort of throwing things at the wall. And I hear from a lot of people quite often, and I'm sure, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I imagine you hear some of this as well, that people are like, well, I Googled all the things and I ChatGPT'd all the things and I tried all the things and I'm just not getting an answer from my practitioner. Paul is over in London in the United States. We get about like 10 minutes with a general practitioner, typically, if we're not in some kind of concierge medicine program. And so this is why I have you on the show today, and this is some of the things that I want to unpack. But before we do all that, I wanted to lean in and really ask you some of the things that may have happened in your life, challenges, triumphs, tragedies, whatever they might be, that pointed you in this direction of the work you're doing today.
You mentioned that before we started recording, and I desperately searched through my archives in my head thinking, what was the tragedy that happened that made me be the person I am? And do you know, I don't think there was one, which I'm so grateful for.
Yeah.
However, what there was a big void of joy and fulfillment and value, feeling of value. And when I was young, I was very into health and fitness for no reason. It was just one of those things, right? And this was in the kind of 70s and 80s when there was no internet, ChatGPT, all that kind of stuff. It was just literally maybe a magazine in a corner shop that you could get. And it was extraordinarily expensive as well at the time. But for some reason, it resonated with me. And so I started training in a gym at 15. I don't know if you have heard this story, but I lied basically about my age so I could get in because you had to be 16 or whatever. And then spent probably 10 years doing it completely wrong and not really getting it and all that kind of thing. But I was always into health and fitness. Then I got into finance and made a shit ton of money and hated every moment of it. It was horrible. It was stressful. It was in the city of London, and it was just not a lifestyle conducive of anything based around health and fitness, right? Which is all about, and there's now the 80s and it was all about that excess. And I came to a point where I just thought, I hate this. It's just not worth the stress and the inconvenience and everything that's going on. And so I just looked around. What do I do? What do I love? What do I want to do that's going to be fulfilling? And I went through a few things that were okay, but not great. And eventually ended up where I should be, which is health and longevity and fitness and understanding how to get people into a better place. And that is why I do it, right? I was thinking about this, funny enough, earlier. I was on an app that you recommended to me about 3 or 4 years ago, New Calm. And I was sitting there doing my vagal tone on it, and which I love, by the way. That app is just insane. And I was thinking about, what's the real reason behind doing this stuff? And it's all about the common insecurity we all have, which is I'm not good enough, or imposter syndrome, or whatever it is that we want to label it. And it just gives me the value and the fulfillment to fill that void and to not feel less than or unworthy or no value. When people turn around and say, you changed my life, I'm more functional now than I've ever been, I've earned more money this year than I could possibly have imagined. This time last year, I couldn't get out of bed, and now I've just closed the 5 biggest deals I've ever had. You've changed my life. You've changed my family's life. You've saved my life, curing cancer, whatever it is, right? All of these things that have happened just make me feel as though I'm doing something good and I'm doing it right. And that has kind of brought me to where I am today. And the key behind it, this is weird, right? I get it on a weird level. So just to illustrate, I can't play an instrument, right? There's some people can sit down, take Elton John. He can sit down 3 years old and play the piano like it just clicks with him, right? It just doesn't work. I have to learn it by rote and then just follow that pattern, and none of it syncs with me. I play a lot of table tennis, right, as one of my things that I do for health and fitness. And I don't get it. I think I'm doing the same stroke every time, and it's not. But I just don't get it, and I have to work at it and work on it and learn it and learn it. It's the same with MMA. I do a lot of MMA training, right? And the same thing. I don't get the flow of it. I don't get the natural thing of it. I have to learn it and learn it. This stuff, I just fucking get it.
Yeah.
And I get it better than most people in the world that I've ever spoken to. And that's not just to, be big and boastful. It's just like, I just do. I don't know why, but I just see it in a way that makes sense to me. And so it had to end up being the way it is. There was no way I was going to do something else, because nothing was going to be as fulfilling, as interesting, at such a good level that I think I'll do this in. I don't know if that answered the question, but I went on a bit there.
No, it's really good. And it's like I can bolster this by just really understanding like the way that you work in the functional medicine space and the way that you work with clients. And for anyone who's listening out here, we'll of course leave all of Paul's information, but he works with a limited number of clients over the course of the year. If you're in with him, you have to be all in. I can tell you that for sure. There's no real half-assing it. There's no, I don't know, I can't show up for a call. It's really about taking that next step, that next big step to level up your health in such a massive way. And for the people that get a chance to work with you, I know that there are a lot of people that show up with big diagnoses and challenging situations and dis-ease states. And I think today I want to talk a little bit about these scary things that can show up to people and why you choose to work with some of the harder cases, as well as people who are wanting to do the thing that you did, which is like, it's more mental emotional, and how we can work and look at labs to adjust those things and really optimize our well-being in what might be slightly more preventative, right? We have this notion or this thing that happens sometimes as humans where we wait for the shit to hit the fan and then we go and address it. I love my mom so dearly. I always use her as an example. But I'm like, I love my mom. And I also know that she's like, I will change my diet and eating lifestyle habits and choices when the doctor tells me that something's wrong that makes me have to do that. Like clearly she set, like that's the trajectory. And that is the thing that makes me a little sad, because there's other ways to do this. There's other, ways to live your life, to feel in the morning, to do the things. And I understand also that we can have some joy. We can find some things to do that may not be perfect for our health, that bring a little joy from time to time, but how much more joyful it is to live in an optimized fashion. So
yeah, and also, it's really important to recognize everyone has their own journey, and you can't change people that don't want to be changed.
My mom,
pretty straightforward.
Actually, our parents.
They won't listen to you anyway.
Our parents are going to listen to me.
Yeah, they never listen, but I see it a lot. I had somebody on a call just before we started, and he said, I want my wife to start working with you. And I went, that's amazing. That's great. But she needs to be the one saying she wants to work with me. So well and good, you pay for it, right? And you get her in and say, I want you to have the benefits that I've had. And it's been crazy. And it's been an amazing transformation. But I want you to do the same thing. But unless she's invested in it and she is the one that picks the phone up or makes the email booking or whatever it is and wants to do it, it's a total waste of time. And we see people, like you say, preventative. How can preventative not be the optimal way of doing things? So much easier to prevent than it is to cure. 100%. Can't tell you how much easier it is. And that means maybe having to change some beliefs around health and wellness, right? People that are constantly trying to improve their health, but always failing. People are always struggling with their weight. They've got no energy. their sleep sucks, the moods are up and down, their sex drive's in the toilet. They just feel just disappointed in life. They have a belief system that they're very, very invested in and they stick to. And one of the things is that I'll do it in the new year. I'll start in the new year.
Mm.
And I'll follow it because this Instagram person says, this is what I should do. And I can get all that free online. I don't need to pay for it. Oh, I'll buy the $29.99 8-week program. That'll fix me. Or, it's aloe vera juice. That's what I've got a deficiency in aloe vera juice. That's the issue. That's what I need to take. Well, that's their belief around it. I don't need help. I don't need anything else. I just need to figure it out myself. And they constantly are trying, what's the next protocol I need? What's the next new thing? What's the next, I need some other supplement, or I need some other peptide, or it's something else that's missing. And they never get anywhere other than more and more tired, less and less cognitive function, less and less joy and fulfillment in life. It just goes on and on and on. And the beliefs are very much set. The people that thrive and that have great energy and amazing sleep and amazing sex drive and amazing cognitive function and are building huge fulfillment lives, whichever way that is, have a totally different set of beliefs. And their set of beliefs are, this is too complicated for me. And I need an expert to basically tell me and show me and hold my hand and guide me through what to do. And I will pass all the responsibility onto them because there's no way I can figure this stuff out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's a very significant difference, because what they'll do on December 1 is they go, I'm going to start today. Oh, but holidays are coming up. Screw the holidays. Why do I have to wait another month? I want to do it today. Get me on. And those people are the ones that thrive. And then the other people look at them and go, they're just lucky, or but they used something else, or whatever bullshit excuse they come up with, right?
Yeah. This is so relevant to this time of year. Absolutely.
Yeah. Don't wait. Why wait? What difference? So prevention is the only way that you can make significant improvements on what's going on now. And then if you're looking at longevity, that's a totally different discussion. But doing the right things today is all you can do, right? It's not, I'll do it over this week, I'll plan it. No, fuck that shit. Let me do what I'm doing today. Make sure that the meals I choose are right for me. Make sure the exercise I do, the recovery I do, the stress management I do. Make sure all the things are right, because then I've got more chance that tomorrow's going to be good as well.
Yeah.
If the decision today is, I'm going to have the beer and pizza tonight, I've had a bad day, screw it, I just need to make myself feel better. So not only are you not going to feel better, because after beers and pizza, you're probably going to feel like crap, but the next day you're going to feel like crap. Emotionally, there'll be guilt and regret. And then physically, you're going to feel like crap. And the last thing you want to do is have a chicken salad.
Yeah.
Right? You're going to want more crap food, it's just like this vicious circle. And some people live decades like that.
Yeah. It's like one small step in the right direction. It's like yesterday I was at, this is something I want to address too, because I think people, there's always a budgetary concern and how I navigate this and all the things. And I experienced it a bit yesterday. I went to the farmer's market. I met up with a girlfriend of mine who's running a sort of a new clean eating program type thing, like heavy protein and fats, and all of the vegetables and all of the greens and whatnot are like fermented and pickled. And it's like, great, I'm going to do this for 30 days. I'm going to kind of compare and contrast how I feel. It's not as sort of an edge as like carnivore, and it's definitely going to be relatively strict. And it's like, I'm deciding to do it with this group, a small group of 10 of us, like starting today. And everyone's like, okay, the holidays. And I even was at the farmer's market, everyone's celebrating with there's like hot cocoa and all these other snacky things you can buy. And I'm like, oh, I can feel that there's resistance, number one, about the holidays, but also out of the 30 days, I said, okay, I'm giving myself Christmas Eve, which is the big family meal, off to do what I want. And because I do, I think I'll probably be able to eat normally, eat within reason. And then also understanding that I'm at a farmer's market, which has changed so much here. It used to be you'd go to the farmer's market, you can get really inexpensive, fresh things. And now it's even more curated. It's even more expensive. I'm buying steaks yesterday. I'm buying all this lamb and meats and things. And it's like, okay, this is not an inexpensive choice to make. And when I compare it to what could come down the road from expenses from medical benefit, from medical issues or doctors or, things that could come up in my health, it's something that I really want to do. And it's not about me. It's just about even people who are like you and I, we're going to have moments where we have resistance, and then we have to really be thoughtful and in our belief system about it's one small step every single day, and it's for a greater cause, and knowing that for anyone who's been through lifestyle change, when you do actually stick to the work, you're like, damn, at 45 days, I felt incredible, right? So if you get the taste, do you see that when you work with people too? Like once they get a little taste, they're like, oh, actually, it's worth, the juice is worth the squeeze.
Yeah, absolutely. I had somebody recently who, they were very debilitated. When they came to me, they said, I spend more time in bed than I do out of it. I'm literally non-functional. I've had to reduce my business. I've had to change everything. My life sucks. And 8 weeks after we started, she closed some of the biggest business she'd had for a long time, was fully functional. And she said to me, but I still feel there's a bit of this going on and I'm still not quite here. And I said, it's 8 weeks, right? And it's a 12-month program. I only work with people for 12 months, right?
Yeah.
And so, it's only been 8 weeks. And she took a step back and she thought about it. And she said, actually, if I'm honest, if you'd have told me I'd feel like this after a year, I'd have taken it. And I went, this is just the beginning.
Yeah.
Right? And she's excelled even, since then enormously. And she's doing an amazing job. But once they start getting it, like you say, I just want more of it. But it's really interesting how we very quickly forget how bad we felt. And then, well, this is just normal. I don't see the big deal now. You go, hang on, you couldn't get out of bed. Yeah. Right? And migraines that were driving you suicidal, and now you're traveling around the world and crushing it and everything else. And actually, this is not that person because she doesn't see it as that. She's an amazing woman, but people are. They're like, they forget how bad they were because they've been acclimatized to this feeling of amazing health and vitality and passion for life again. And there's, oh mate, it's great. I'm crushing everything. Everyone's telling me how great I look and how young I look and this and the other. Oh my God. And you go, yeah, what were you expecting?
This is what the money's for, people.
Yeah, exactly. Right. That's why I make the big bucks. But the fact of the matter is it's so easy to forget how sick you were. But also it's so difficult to imagine how sick you can be.
Yeah.
A friend of mine who's also a practitioner, her husband had a major heart issue, ended up with a triple bypass, like an emergency, went in, didn't feel well, bang, next day, triple bypass, the whole emergency thing going on. And I met up with him afterwards, after about 4 or 5 weeks, and he was home and doing his stuff back at work and everything. And I said, how are you feeling? He went, oh, mate, it's the scariest thing. It is unbelievable. He said, but it's not the operation. It's not the recovery. He said, when I was in recovery, it was the feeling of, shit, this is serious. And how am I going to cope with this now? What have I done to myself? And he felt so, almost not guilt-ridden, but just anxious around how could I have done it? This is a real, knock on the door saying, it's not forever.
Yeah.
You're not going to be here that long, so you've got to really make some changes. Anyway, and he turned his life around and made a lot of changes, significant improvements in a lot of things. Listened to what he had to do, right? Yeah. As opposed to just going, yeah, one day I'll get around to the stress thing and I'll stop drinking one day, right? And I said to him, that's amazing. I'm glad you've had the epiphany, if you like. But how do we get people to feel like that? Like deep-seated belief and feeling like that before the event happens.
Yeah.
So that they change.
Yeah.
And he went, I have no idea.
Yeah. And I think sometimes there's a small window when people with parental sickness and things, or people are like, wow, I need to make changes as well. I can see this in my mother, my father, et cetera. Or unfortunately, sometimes they lose a parent. You start to feel your mortality creeping in. And in full disclosure as well, I for anyone who's listening who knows, I do a lot of work with nutrition and coaching women and health optimization and all of that. And cold plunging, your favorite thing that I do. And there are, cases that show up to me. In many instances, I put you on the phone with friends or confidants or people who are in family, like family to me, because they're not going to listen to me and because our relationship is different. And also when I have people who show up and come to me with some of the worst case scenarios, right? 14 things are wrong at one time. The diagnosis is massive, coupled with the fact. And so you have been a mentor and also a friend and also seen me through some of the more challenging mental, emotional things I've gone through in the last couple of years. And I know that you have a lot of people that are showing up to you with a window of like, hey, I've just been diagnosed with cancer. Hey, I've just had a triple bypass, et cetera. And I just wanted you to walk us through a little bit sort of the way your approach emphasizes, comprehensive testing and some of the things that I know that you do that I think people are not, it's one of the bigger questions I get is like, well, what labs am I supposed to do? And just, again, you can do all the labs you want if you can't read them and you don't have someone who understands correlation and causation, like it doesn't really get you anywhere. So I'd love for you to sort of overview the ways that you work with people, maybe the whys, and also just want to acknowledge the work that you're doing in the sense of everybody sends you the toughest cases, right? So you've seen a lot of the maladies out there and seen a lot of the dis-ease states that not everybody, like at my level, of course, if it's out of the water for me, I need to refer them to someone like you who really has a grasp of that.
My entire world is built around the nervous system, teaching people how to regulate it, to train it, to build resilience through breathwork, cold and heat therapy. So when I tell you that the Apollo Neuro is a tool I actually use and actually recommend, I need you to understand the weight of that. This is something that I've been wearing for 6 years. It's a wearable. My preference is to wear it on my ankle. You can wear it on your wrist or in a little clip on your collarbone. And they've done this incredible thing recently, which is update their app to include smart vibes. So whereas you used to have to set it and then change it and then turn it on and then turn it off again, now throughout the course of your day, the Apollo can just be running. I charge it when I'm in the shower. It has all these different frequencies that signal safety to your brain, that do different vibratory patterns for focus or for sleep or for really shifting the needle on your HRV, which is really kind of a cool byproduct if you're wearing this device on your body. Your autonomic nervous system responds, your fight or flight noise starts to quiet, and it's not magic. It's neuroscience. It's backed by 17 clinical studies. David Rabin, who's the founder, is just an incredible friend of mine. And what I love is it fills the gaps in a day. When you can't do a full breathwork practice, when you can't, come down and take a breath between meetings or regulate yourself or get out into nature. If you're flying, if you're lying awake at night at 2 a.m., but you just can't stop the rumination in your brain, you just set on the sleep vibe. And what I also love is that if I get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom or I'm restless, it actually will turn back on to help me fall back asleep. You can really feel your system shift. I always say the goal is nervous system flexibility, the ability to move through states with intention. And Apollo is one of the few tools I've seen that actually help develop that. So try it for yourself. Check out apolloneuro.com, APOLLONEURO.com. Use the code WELLPOWER to save and see what it feels like to put your nervous system back in your own hands. Again, I'm loving this device, the Apollo. Check it out.
So firstly, everyone's individual, right? Everyone's different. And we want to look at the root cause always. There are 90% of practitioners in the world, in my opinion, that treat symptoms still, right? So, example, you're inflamed. You've got inflammation. Here's some curcumin because it's an anti-inflammatory, right? Well, okay, we take that for a few weeks. How are you feeling? Well, I'm a bit better, I think. Okay, we're going to change it to boswellia. That's also an anti-inflammatory. Let's try this. That'll bring the inflammation down. Oh, okay. Right, that's no different than taking a pharmaceutical anti-inflammatory, ibuprofen, don't know what you call it there. Tylenol is your acetaminophen, right? Yeah, and then you've got another one, which is a Nurofen or ibuprofen.
Like Bayer, Tylenol, yeah, Advil. We got a mix. I love the direction you're taking because you sort of coined this phrase into my vernacular, which is how do we find the head of the snake, right? We're looking at the body the entire time. How do we get to the head of the snake, which can be the challenge. And
a lot of practitioners are doing that, right? You've got gut inflammation, let's give you this. You've got this thing, let's give you that for that symptom. I'm not interested in any of that stuff. I'm interested in what's causing that inflammation. And so we need to look much deeper down, right? So we look at the gut and we go, okay, well, what's causing that inflammation is maybe a combination of a leaky gut, which has been driven by what? Well, we need to find that out. So let's have a look down that road. We have to look at what's your immune system doing because that's where all your inflammation comes from. So if you're treating at the top piece, the inflammatory response, but not dealing the immune system, you just keep getting inflamed. Nothing's going to change, right? So we want to get in, what's your TH1, TH2, TH17, T regulatory cells in your immune system doing? How are they balanced? What's their triggers? All of that kind of stuff we want to look at a very, very deep cellular level, right? And so to do that, I want as much information as I can about you now, you in the past, and what we can put together to make sure that you in the future is a different entity. So bloods, comprehensive bloods, not something your practitioner, your GP is going to do, or your primary care physician. So we want ones that are giving you the real understanding behind cardiovascular disease, behind inflammation, behind hormone imbalances, blood glucose. If, just as an aside, very quickly, if someone has been diagnosed with diabetes, they 100% have cardiovascular disease. It's not a discussion point. They may not have the symptom yet. 100% it is there, because what's caused the diabetes is the amount of insulin that's being bathed in the cells. And that is because there's a cardiovascular disease, right? And so for people who are diabetic and just taking their metformin 500 milligram twice a day and eating their potato chips and whatnot, trust me, it's in the post, it's coming, and you need to get on top of your real cardiovascular problem, not worry about the diabetes so much. Anyway, so we want to look at bloods. We want to look at, I want to look at DNA.
Blood, let's just take a pause and say, I know you said this, but like when you do a normal like panel at the doctor, it's like a finger prick or a small thing or a one vial or whatever, and it's basically telling you you're alive in that moment. And it's like every quarter, not that anyone has to be like me, but I also know when you pull bloods, it's like 13 to 15 vials of blood, a urine. It's like a full comprehensive test, and it's not inexpensive. It's manageable in the long scheme of things, but also it's a lot of blood. Like people will say, wow, that was a lot to pull to get really comprehensive lab work.
Yeah. In the UK, it's like, if you give blood, you give a pint, and afterwards they give you a cup of tea and a biscuit. And I think people are going to the blood drawers and saying, do I get my cup of tea and biscuit now? You took that much. But they are comprehensive, 120, 150 markers. They're not, half a dozen with one sheet of paper that it's got some numbers on it. It's got a little L next to it, or an H if it's low or high. It comes with like an 80 to 100 page report. Comes with me going over it and making sure that we deciphered everything about what these things mean. And in addition, we want to look at the optimal ranges, because the doctor's range is based around a very old theory. And basically what happened was Big Pharma, and if you're into Big Pharma or you want to hear a bit more about it, then my view is this. In an emergency, the ER at the hospital will save your life. Outside of that, there is nothing you should be going anywhere near a doctor for, because the whole premise is set up from ground zero upwards to create customers and keep them for as long as possible. It's not there to cure anything or to fix anything. If you come up and say, I've got a cure for cancer, you will be assassinated within a year. There's too much money in it for that to happen. RFK is dicing with a lot of issues at the moment, right? He's trying to bring in reform and some of these peptides and some of these methylene blue and alternative things that he feels are useful, and he wants to change some stuff. One of two things is going to happen. He will either be another Kennedy that was assassinated, or Big Pharma are going to have to come in and agree with him on the basis that they supply and produce those products. Because the business is not about curing. The business is about making money and keeping people sick. It was never about your benefit, ever. Right? And if you want to go back in the history of it all, crack on.
Yeah.
So these ranges that are used for blood tests at your doctors, the ranges are so wide that most people will drop into it. And if you've got, for argument's sake, blood's done on an annual basis, and you see that let's just take HbA1c, which is a 3-month blood sugar marker. And you just see it every year. It's just trending up a little bit. A couple of percent. But the trend is upwards. Your doctor can do nothing about it and cannot even advise you on it until it goes out of range. Now, he can give you a medication for it. It's been going up for the last 4 years. Very clear. But no, it's fine. It's in the range. now you're out the range, we can give you medication for it. But if you'd have told me about this 2 years ago, maybe I could have made some changes and it not been there. And I wouldn't have to go on this medication. And so the first thing you should always ask your doctor is, how long do I have to be on this medication for? No, you have to be on it for life. Can't come off it. Excuse me? Yeah. No, you can't come off. Why is that? Oh, because your blood sugar will go up again, or your cholesterol will go up again, or your blood pressure will go up again. It's like, well, that doesn't make sense. It doesn't fix it. No. It doesn't fix it. Great. I've had people come off their blood pressure meds, obviously, off their diabetes meds, off their statins for their cholesterol, the fights that they have with their doctors, because obviously they're getting paid as well for writing prescriptions. And so it's a difficult thing to be able to trust them with any part of the advice they give. And so from our point of view, we use a much narrower range. And that means if you're optimal, it's brilliant. But if you just drift out of optimal, even in the doctor's range, we can tell if something is about to happen or has started happening. And then we can get in front of that and turn it around way quicker and much easier than waiting for it to get to a disease state. And we diagnose cancer in people very, very early. Literally seen it in a report and just gone, I know it's in the range, it's in the doctor's range. One was, for example, prostate cancer, right? It's in the doctor's range, there's no problems, but we see these three markers, and they're not PSA, which is the prostate-specific antigen, not that one, which is the one that doctors look at. There are others. And we look at it and go, right, if we see this pattern and your age, just for housekeeping, go to the doctors and get a prostate examination, right, which is a finger up the bum. So I remember one guy goes there and he says to the doctor, look, can I get this examination? And we don't really do it unless we think you need it and your PSA is fine. But I know, but this guy's kind of said I should do it, and it's kind of got me a bit anxious. So okay, fine. So reluctantly, the doctor does it, and he went, oh, okay. Well, let's just get you scanned. It doesn't feel quite right. Anyway, they find stage 1 prostate cancer, 2 tumours it was. One was benign, one was cancerous. And obviously the discussion then at stage 1 is far different to stage 4 when the conversation is get your affairs in order. But they're going to wait until these numbers are so off the chart or the symptoms are so prolific that it's just advanced to a point where now we're going to have to try and do something on, it's one of the most aggressive ones. We can't really do much. And so doing it right and getting the right testing in place is important. I also want to do DNA because your DNA will give us a very good understanding as to the best way to treat you. Right? If you're not, for example, something silly like glutathione is a big antioxidant and it helps in a huge amount of things, right? But some people don't recycle it particularly well, so we need to use it in a slightly different way, and other people are really good with it. Or we want to look at methylation, and whilst it doesn't really matter about methylation per se, and everybody will say, no, it's the key to everything, right? And just as layman's terms, methylation is the signal from the DNA to tell the body to do something. So if that signal is slightly broken or not really effective, the outcome is slightly broken or not really effective. But we want to know about that. We want to know about a few things, right? We also want to know about any genetic susceptibilities that we can work around. So there's a huge amount there because it allows us to really be very specific about the treatment we use and know it's going to work for that person's genetics.
But how do you suggest that people are like advocating for themselves in this way, right? If they're not, if they're listening to this podcast, they can get in touch with you and work with you, or they can, find a good coach that's local to them, that's a good fit, whatever it might be. But how do you suggest people are advocating when they're going into their GP, their doctor, their nurse practitioner?
It's difficult.
Because it's intimidating, right? It's like the white lab coat syndrome.
No, but worse than that, Kristin, worse is that we're brought up. If you're sick, your mum takes you to the doctor, he gives you a pink liquid, you take that for a week and it's all fixed. Well, that's the cure. That's the fix. I don't understand what the problem. Why do I want to change that? I've done it since I was a kid. And everything around us is geared towards that. We don't have it in Europe, right? But in the US, if you have an advertisement on TV for a pharmaceutical, you have to list the side effects, the possible outcomes. And that's longer than the actual ad. Come on. right? Something's not right there. It's like if you go to the horse races, right? And in our country, if you go to a bookmaker's, which are off track, in other words, in your shops in the local town, there's 3 windows that say bet here and one says payout. Well, you've got to understand, if you've got 3 of it saying bet here and only one that says payout, the odds are you ain't going to be winning. You know, Vegas wasn't built on winners.
Yeah.
Somehow our culture has told us, no, this is how we should be doing things. And when you go to the doctor as a child and it just works that way all the way through, then why would you question it? And it's very hard to change that belief. I think COVID got a lot of people to change because they were so offended by some of the things that were done. Over here, especially, you couldn't go and see your family as they were dying in the hospital and all this kind of stuff. And it's like people are like, we're not doing that again. That's nonsense. We're going to question everything now. But generally, it's really hard for them to stand up and go, you can imagine, right? So I've got a 7-year-old daughter. Of course, we've got a 32-year-old. But the little one still lives at home. Apparently, we can't get rid of her yet. And when vaccinations come up, me and the nurse have a conversation. They don't come out well. Right? Because they know you're going to kill that child if you don't get this done. Everyone at school is going to be open to get an infection and this. And they go, yeah, but they're all vaccinated. What's the problem? They're all vaccinated. How are they going to catch something from my kid? Oh, it doesn't work like that. Oh, really? Why does it work then? Well, I mean, you know, yes, I know. Fuck off. So it's just very difficult unless you really get it and believe it, right? And so if people want to think differently, find someone who backs you and understands it. And please do not follow advice that's given to you in social media because it doesn't relate to you. Right? Unless that person who's giving the advice knows your history, knows your background, knows your current health, knows your blood markers, knows your DNA, knows your toxic load, knows everything about you, knows your lifestyle, your stress, your hydration, your hormones, just everything. Nothing they say is relevant to you. I don't care how powerful the marketing is or the messaging is. It ain't nothing to do with you, right? It is generic and it may not suit you at all. Carnivore is a great one, right? There's some carnivore advocates out there who have got compelling evidence that it is the only way to be and it will solve all of your problems. Well, just simply 25% of the world are APOE4 genotypes. And if they went carnivore, it would destroy them because saturated fat will cause huge amounts of inflammation and insulin resistance. And so they'll get the cardiovascular disease and the diabetes that they promised is all going to go away. It's going to cure all of your autoimmune. No, it's not, because it doesn't suit their genetics.
Yeah.
And so it's really important people stop looking at social media for specific answers to their problems and find someone that can deal with them.
8 years plus, I've been cold plunging seriously. Doing 30-day plunges when that wasn't even a thing, and people were calling me and DMing me on Instagram. Probably 7.5 years ago, 8 years ago now. 7.5 years ago, I bet. You can look at my old stories or highlights and find out. And they were like, are you okay? And I was more than okay. But like, I get it. Back in the day, we were all a bunch of weirdos before it hit Instagram on trend. But I've been around the block a few times, and I just want to shout out Ice Barrel because not just are they a partner on this podcast, because this is part of my peak expression. I could have a lot of different cold plunge companies that I could partner with, but I've chosen Ice Barrel for a reason. It's upright plunging. You can step down into it. It's absolutely the best home unit. The installation, the delivery process, the customer service. I just installed the chiller here in Los Angeles for this professional dance group that I'm working with around recovery and resilience. And I got on the video call with customer service in the same day, and anything I had questions on, they were super helpful around, and I hooked it all up myself, and it's banging. I have it phone connected so that I can remotely access and change the temperature in the morning, in the evening, however I want. And I've seen so many types of cold plunges and ice plunges and barrels and troughs and inflatables and all these things, and I've had so many conversations and really interesting instances of navigating founders of some of these companies that are driven, some of them being driven by ego, some of them with a lot of odd quirks, some of them with the worst customer service, and Ice Barrel has none of those things. I've had nothing but a pure amazing experience with working with them, their marketing team, their customer service team, the development team. And I even had Wyatt, who's the original founder of Ice Barrel, on the show. And so it's just been really a beautiful ride with them. And I don't believe at all that there is another better home unit than Ice Barrel out there. So I'm just strongly directing you in that direction if you're considering getting a cold plunge for your home. Icebarrel.com. You can use the code Sherpa, just like my breath and cold instructor training, and save a bundle. Icebarrel.com. Check it out. I love them.
I've had a lot of women's hormones profiles go sideways with carnivore as well. It's super strict, you know?
Yeah, well, there's reasons for that, which we can cover at some point. But toxicity testing is also really important. People will pick up mold, heavy metals, chemical toxins, environmental toxins, and you can do the best diet and the training, and you can manage your stress, and you can stop drinking, and you can be this beacon of health and optimization, do every biohack under the sun. But if you're toxic, none of that's going to work. And we see it in every cancer patient with like so much toxicity that picked up over the years from wherever. One of the biggest places we pick up from is food. Right? Mold, one of the biggest exposures is food because it is on there and we eat it and our body doesn't detoxify it. And when mold gets in us, it's a living organism and it loves it. It loves our tissue, it loves being in us, and it colonizes and it grows and becomes this big thing that's living and breathing and metabolizing in your body on a second by second basis. And all of it's, because it's living, it has loose term metabolism, so it metabolizes things, and then it has an end product, a waste product. And they are generally really toxic to us. It changes our DNA, it changes our expression of genes, it creates cancer. We know it creates a lot of cardiovascular problems, dementia, a lot of things. And so unless you're looking at that as well, as part of this bloods, DNA, toxicity, probably a good stool test as well, just see what's going on in there for now, and some other bits and pieces that are very specific. Unless you know all of that, going and giving someone an anti-inflammatory because they're inflamed, or probiotic because they've got bloated sharp, well, it's just not going to work. And that's why, one, it takes a year or more to start really getting work done, and it's expensive. But I don't know a better way.
Yeah, and it's also about scaffolding. You know, I think it's like you could look at somebody's labs and tell them all the things they need to do over the course of a year, and it will feel quite overwhelming to the average person, right? And even to a biohacker, et cetera. And it's like why it takes time. And then also, I feel like I learned this very much from you as well, which was like, you have to do A before B. You have to clear your detox pathways before you can move on to the next thing that's going to make things work. You can't take all the supplements, detoxes, you know, P.S. celery juice cleanse isn't going to do anything for you. And on it goes. There's a process throughout the whole thing. And this is like the patience of progress, right? Where we're like little by little starting to feel better and at a baseline, deeper level in the body, systemically clearing things to go forward. Yeah. I want to also just take some of the time that we have left to talk about this phrase, this term, behavioral medicine, to really give some people advice besides the things of working with you, doing labs, all of that. It's like, if you were to say, what are the 3 to 5 things that everyone needs to be doing, let's say on a daily or weekly basis, to be able to shift their current state of health, what would be your suggestions?
I think you have to have a real good reason that you want to do it, because there's too much influence outside to not knock you off track. Every advertisement you see on TV or hear on the radio or on the billboard or social media or whatever it is, there's too much of that distraction going on, right? So you have to really have the reason. I'd love it not to be because you've had a heart attack already. I'd love it to be because you don't want to have that scenario in your life. Something I like to tell people is, if you've got children or loved ones around you, at the end of your life, is your life going to be an example to others or a warning to them? And it's important to really think that through, because if it is going to be an example, then you need to be the person that doesn't do the alcohol, or maybe to excess, or doesn't eat so much at Thanksgiving that just a mess in the corner and fall asleep, and whatever it is. You also need the one that goes and does the exercise, right? And the one that does go to bed at the right time, and the one that doesn't knee-jerk react when the kids are playing up and start shouting and screaming, but has the ability to be calm and discuss things in a way that actually gets through to them rather than terrorizing them and creating trauma in their life. And so if you want to be that sort of person and it really means something to you to do that, then I think that's the first step. Because then you've got real drive and a reason why to do the difficult things when they're difficult. It's not always easy to go to the gym or do a class or, you know, make time to go and exercise or walk the dog or whatever it is, right? It's not always easy. It's easier to sit on the sofa and eat ice cream and watch Netflix. But the outcome isn't as good, I can assure you, right? And then I'm 60 nearly, don't say anything, right? And I honestly think I'm thriving as much as I've ever done in my life, from an energy perspective, from a cognitive perspective, from every aspect. And that takes doing, right? It takes application. And I can be the opposite. I could be sick and broken and debilitated and on 10 different medications at the same age. It wouldn't be unusual. But that's a shame.
Speaking to like purpose and perspective, like having a reason to do these things. Yeah. As you're starting.
And if the reason is right and it's strong enough, not just, oh yeah, I want to do that. I want to be, it's a real desire and belief within you, then the actions are a lot easier to take. The decisions aren't decisions anymore. They're just matter of facts. Oh yeah, of course I'm going to go at 5:30 and do my class. Of course I'm going to get up in the morning and do this and that. Why wouldn't I? Right, it doesn't make sense. What do you mean go to bed at 1 o'clock? What? You know, we see intake forms with people. Sleep patterns are like, go to bed at 1, wake up at 6:30. I'll get 6.5 hours sleep. No. You might get 5 hours on a good day if that's how much time you're giving yourself in bed. And that, if you look at it, should be 7 to 8 hours. You're getting 2 or 3 hours a night of lack of sleep. And then you multiply that by 365 days and multiply that by 10 years. All of a sudden, you should have been sleeping another 5 years.
Yeah.
And that makes a difference. And it just to everything, sleep deprivation, sorry, there's the word I was looking for. So the behavioral stuff is about having the right reason. I think people know what they should be eating, right? People know it's not great to smoke or drink too much, or I don't care what they say about France, they drink red wine, they've all got great cardiovascular health. Actually, that's not true. And they also have quite a lot of liver problems. So don't buy into that. But people kind of know, right? And if you don't know, I would just say a low-ish carb Mediterranean diet will probably be a good example to start with while you look at other things that you need to fix. Manage your stress. It's so important, right? We have a parasympathetic nervous system and a sympathetic nervous system. Parasympathetic is the rest, digest, recover, chill out, be free kind of thing. And the sympathetic is that fight or flight. And we spend way too much in that fight or flight and way too little time in parasympathetic. I have to almost proactively every day put myself in parasympathetic to make sure I get there.
Same here.
And that's what I use. That's what I use New Calm for, right? And that's what I make sure I take that time to do things. And I make sure that my life is set up so that everything is about what's best for me first, and then everything else comes second. That includes all of my work, includes anything outside of what's best for me today. My training, my foods, any supplementation, any peptide juice, any other things that I'm doing, any red light, any meditation, whatever it is, all comes first in my diary. And then people can book in around that. Because if I'm not optimized for myself, how much use am I going to be to you? So from a behavioral perspective, that's kind of where that's at. And also, please don't use ChatGPT to solve your health issues. And I'll just go a quick one on this because I know you're running out of time, but you do not know the questions to ask. ChatGPT will answer your question based on the internet. It'll just go around, look at it, come back and go, this is what I found. Just saves you Googling it and then sifting through all the websites. But if you don't know the question to ask, then you are not going to understand the answers and where their shortfalls are. And I'll give you a very quick example. I'm out at lunch the other day and someone says to me, this telomere stuff, if we could lengthen telomeres, it would be such a great thing because anti-aging, that would be the thing. I went, well, you can. It's been around for years. Goes, what? Of course you can. Something called epithalon, you can take it and it will lengthen your telomeres. Great. That's what I'm going to do then. Oh, okay, fine. End of the conversation, right? Went on, kept eating my lunch, But I'm thinking in my head, actually, he asked me the completely wrong question because he didn't know a better one. Because telomere length has nothing to do with longevity. It's been now proven. Me and you can have the same telomere length, but we can have a different life expectancy because it's very individual. It used to be thought that if it's a certain length, then that gives you a certain longevity profile, but actually it doesn't. So he's going to go, let's say I was ChatGPT and he's asking me telomeres. I go, yeah, epithalon, take it 30 days, twice a year, and you'll be good to go. Fine. That doesn't give him what he really needs because the prompt is wrong.
Yeah.
Right? If he asks the question, what's the best way to ensure longevity and to deal with issues that would come along that could potentially stop my longevity and so on, then that's a completely different answer. And also, just finally, when ChatGPT gives you an answer, it's very often wrong. And it's very often, I will look at it and go, well, that's not right and this is not right. And it will say to me, yeah, you're right. Thanks for spotting that.
Yeah.
Right? So don't trust it.
Yeah. And if anyone can test it out, it's you really understanding what that's about. So beautiful. I want to just take a little peek into the two questions I usually wrap the show with, which is, what's one amazing biohack that you are doing, or health optimization practice, or behavioral medicine tool that you are doing or using, besides Newcom, because I know we both love it, that is just like lighting you up right now and you're feeling like it's giving you the gift of, healing or health?
Or you're going to hate this. I'll tell you what it is. It's a diversity of exercise.
Yeah.
So I'll give you a quick rundown. Right? On a Monday morning, I'll do a little bit of weight training for about half an hour, and then I'll do reformer Pilates for an hour. And then that evening, I'll do a lifting class. So it's like an EMOM kind of thing with lifting. That goes heart rate up and does some stuff for that. Tuesday, tend not to do anything. Wednesday, MMA in the morning, lifting in the evening. Thursday, engine and weight training in the morning, and table tennis in the evening. Friday, MMA in the morning.
What do you do in the evening on Thursday?
Table tennis.
Table tennis, yeah, okay.
So I play table tennis with a coach.
Yeah.
Right. So you're constantly moving for an hour, which is like cardio times 10.
That also feels like it's fun, like you're really enjoying
Absolutely, yeah. Go and say to me, go and run on a treadmill for an hour or bike for an hour, and I'll be like, I'll find every excuse not to do it.
Yeah.
So I have to create things that I love doing so that I want to go and do it. Right? Yeah. So table tennis, and then Friday, MMA, again, 1 hour in the morning, lifting in the evening. Saturday, table tennis in the morning. And then we go with my daughter on that one. And we both use the coach. And that's it, right? And then maybe lifting on a Sunday, but doubtful. And then I'd walk the dog once, twice a day, whatever it is. That's the best biohack I have. Diversity, right? So different stuff, doing different kind of enjoyable activities that all come together to produce a great outcome.
And I want to say that you said I would hate that, but I love fitness variance. And the thing that you talked about in some of those situations is like, even table tennis with a coach is like an accountability partner, and MMA you're with a group, and Pilates you might be even. And it's like the thing that is the through line in some of those tools are like having some moments where you're with community and other people. Yeah. And if that's such a powerful tool for health. And the other thing is like, the more that I've looked and spoken and worked with people, it's like, hey, if you can only get half an hour in this, like microdosing fitness over the course of the day, right? And getting a little in the morning and a little at night, and really helping balance glucose and your mental, emotional, and all of those things. I think it's like such a beautiful practice. And people will listen to your schedule and say, how do I fit that in with all the other things I have? And I want to say to everyone who's listening, you have an insane schedule with the way that you care about clients and how deeply you dive on all of them, plus a family, plus a dog, a newer dog. And I know that there's a lot, and I'm sure you're scheduling that in to make sure that it's a priority for you and it's a priority for your life.
That's a really good question. No one wants to do 8 to 10 sessions a week if it's of something they don't like. That's the first thing, right?
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, everything I do in the day is for me first, and then everything else works around it. And I work across every time zone. Well, I've got clients in every continent. Well, not the North and South Poles, but most continents, right? So I've got time zones everywhere. And I work 12, so midday my time, to 5 p.m. my time. I don't care what area you're in or what time zone, that's my schedule. You can work in with me on those times.
Yeah.
And some people have to get up early. Some people stay up a little bit later, but it works.
Yeah.
And that way I can make sure that I'm the person turning up who's the very best for them, because I fucking lose sleep over this shit, right? If something's bothering me and I haven't figured out what the problem is with that patient, I literally lose sleep over it, and that's not acceptable for me.
Yeah.
And so, and if I do lose sleep, here's another thing. I will make sure the next day I've got an hour to nap somewhere and catch up with some sleep. All of those little things, they count for so much over a year, over a decade.
Yeah, and you are in charge of your own life. I've always seen that about you. You like run your life and you are in charge of it, and you are going to stand for yourself so that you can stand for your patients more than most practitioners.
And foolishly or not, I don't have a PA. I don't have a team around me. I really don't. It's odd. I keep thinking to myself, I should get a PA. Maybe they can do this for me and that for me. But I've never worked out a way in which it can be valuable.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just doing it wrong, but it's just done. And that's not, I mean, I've got another big business in the US called FitScript, which is a different model, and that runs. And there are other companies that I'm involved with and training companies and all this. So it's not just this, but nothing excites me more than to get on a podcast with someone like you, especially a good friend of mine who I love dearly, and be able to tell the world about this stuff, because I think it's just so important.
Yeah, so important. And the last question I ask is always around if you could go back and speak to your teenage self and little Paul, mischievous Paul, 15 or something, and give him one piece of advice that would help him sort of step forward into wellness, into health optimization, what would that be?
Don't take shortcuts.
Oh, God, powerful. I just got chills. Oh, with that, I'm going to tell you I love you. Thank you guys so much for listening in to Paul Burgess and I. Paul, tell everyone where they can find you, as well as I'll be posting and sharing in the notes.
Well, you can go to my website, which is Paul Burgess, BURGESS for sugar, .UK, and you can book a call there. It's free, 30 minutes. I can have a chat, tell me about your stuff, what's going on. It's not your usual call. When you get to the link to book, it's going to ask you some crazy questions that you're going to think, hang on, this is a bit weird. Trust me with them. It gives us some really good insight. Instagram, paulburgess.uk, but I'm not really prolific on there, and I'll just do a bit here and there. I'm not mad on social media, I've got to admit. But yeah, website, and whatever links Kristin puts up, then click on them, I'm sure I'll be at the end of it. I'm very happy to speak to anybody about anything that they've got going on. It might not be a fit for you to work with me, it is a lot of money, but if it is a fit, you will have me in your life for a year, and I can guarantee you I will commit everything I have to it.
Yeah, I know that for sure, that's absolutely true. The way that I see you work with people is just profound and so beautiful and so firm but fair. Loving, firm but fair.
Yeah. There are some times where there's some direct approach needed, but that's all good.
Incredible. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. We'll have to do a personal catch-up call at some point soon, and
anytime you want.
Yeah, I'm so happy to share you on the show and get people to hear more about all the beautiful work you do in the world.
My pleasure.
Yes, thank you for joining us here on Well Power. You can submit questions, learn more, shop incredible brands, and connect with me at wellpower.life, or follow me on social at biohacking.breath.cold. From comfort to courage, friends, we're doing it. Any foul language you hear is not approved by my mother.